Hello, amazing teachers. I'm so excited for this lesson, honestly, as I am about all the lessons. But let me show you some things that might help you to engage certain students even a little bit more. This lesson covers the material leading up to the Sacred Grove experience, which will be tomorrow's lesson. But as you are looking at this attention-getting activity at the beginning of the lesson, instead of asking students for examples of times when they've received conflicting information, if your students, if you feel like they would engage with that question right away, wonderful. But you might try using this image, which I will link in the description. This is from that video from Elder Uchtdorf about discovering truth. It represents or shows 6 blind men who have gone to see the elephant. And they each have a very different impression of what it is, depending on the experience they've had with it. For example, one thinks it's a rope because he's at the tail, or a snake because he's at the trunk. Have the students look at this picture and ask them why each of these people thinks so very differently about the very same thing. That might be a great way to introduce these questions. Why can it be difficult at times to identify reliable information? And then this question that will help students prepare for the topic. Now, the topic today isn't just about Joseph Smith. It's about helping students to follow his example as we turn to God for the divine, sure source for truth. As you go through the activities today, be very sensitive to time. At the end of the lesson, there is, this is where the application happens. Notice this question: which of Joseph's actions have you tried in your life, and which would you like to try? Students will have an opportunity to be making a what will I do quadrant, which talks about questions they have and what things we've learned from Joseph that might help students to, that they can help them discover their own answers. So don't miss out on this. A couple of things that might take up a bit of time. Look here, the restoration video, it says you may choose to use this, but it's 15 minutes long, the clip that they could use. That's a big chunk of your class. Your students might respond better to learning about Joseph's experience from this video than from reading the verses. But please be judicious in your choice of the use of time. I think in most cases, reading these verses and studying them will be particularly helpful for students. Now, if you choose to do this, I have an activity that might help your students engage in that topic even more. Instead of reading 11 through 14, have them just read 11 through 12 quietly to themselves, and then ask them what they learned. Now, what they won't have noticed, perhaps, is that the picture here on this slide, and these will be available in PDF format in the description, that this is a hidden picture. Don't let them know that yet. So after they read the scripture, they learn this image is in front of them the whole time. But then you can ask if they notice anything about this picture. Have them look more closely at the picture. And then you could give them a little list. Can you find a cupcake or a pear or an ice cream cone? Ice cream cone is pretty easy because it's just right there. And then once they've done that, see if they can find the snail, peanut, sailboat, seals, sock, toothbrush, spoon. Once they do, and again, don't want to take too much time, but this might be a really fun way to engage students. You could show them these pictures if they need a little extra help. And there they are. Now, what did you learn about the difference between just looking at the picture and exploring it? Have them look again at verse 11. Oh, I beg your pardon, verse 12. Joseph said that he reflected on what he was reading again and again. So, just like the hidden picture, the more you look, the more you can find. So when we read these verses, now verses 11 through 14, and have them read 11 and 12 again, this time I want you to reflect on these verses again and again. Now, this might be new for students, and they might not know what to be looking for. So here are some questions that can help them reflect on that verse again and again. You can leave that slide up while they read, and while they mark things or write things down that they're discovering in these verses. As they look more closely, they're going to find more things, especially as they think about how it might apply to themselves. And don't forget to allow students the opportunity to share testimonies of experiences they've had. Allow students to share testimony of faithful actions that can lead to revelation and answers to spiritual questions. Perhaps it's something that they've done, or something that someone they know or loved has done, a family member or friend. And if they don't have an example, that's okay. You could share one of your own. This is so important, the discovery of truth, and Joseph's experience is so applicable to students today. May the Lord bless you to have a great and engaging experience with your students this morning.